Okay, here's my part 2. I need to set my timer, so I only have 15 minutes to get through the remaining problems. So we left off with this problem where simple problem, read, and you should easily know what the ordered pair represents. So again, basic question, answer is B. This next one is a system. Let me move my timer over here off to the side. Again, they give you the system, they set it up for you. They could have made you set up the system yourself, but they were nice enough to give you the system. You just need to know how to solve a system. So I used the elimination method. You can see all my work, and I was able to solve for X and get the answer, which is B. Okay, this next one, we did a problem similar to this earlier on in the year involving bowls, stacking bowls. In this case, 1 chair is 40 inches, 6 chairs is 60. That's all I need to be able to write a linear function. And if you use a calculator, stack key, and type in the two ordered pairs, or find the slope by hand, and as soon as you know that, realize the slope is 4, you have your answer. So B is the answer. Notice it's written slightly different than if you would solve it using your calculator or you do y equals mx plus b, but they are similar. If you distribute and simplify, you're going to see that they are equivalent. Next question. A system. Again, these should be very easy to match up. I am going to be shading above a dashed line that has a slope of 1 that crosses the y-axis at -7. And this other one has a y-intercept of 0, but goes down at a rate of down 3 over 1, and you're going to be shading below that. So answer is B. Here's another problem that every algebra student should be able to do very easily, and that's to solve a multi-step inequality or an equation. In this case, an inequality. Got my x's on the left, number on the other. When I divided by -3, I had to reverse the sign, so x is greater than 4. Yes, there is a way to do this on a calculator, but every student should know how to solve a multi-step equation and inequality. Here's another system of linear inequalities. Again, straightforward. We need to match this up, and it matches up with A. You can see the y-intercept is -2. This is going uphill, and you're shading above, so it matches with A. Okay. Again, I need to go through these very quickly. Here we have a problem that I've seen this in Study Island. You need to know that profit is your selling price minus all your expenses, all your costs. So you can see your selling price, here's my cost, here's my profit times the 55 items that I'm selling. So matches up with C. Next problem. You have to factor the numerator, factor the denominator. I wanted to factor out a -1 here to make this a little bit easier. When you factor this trinomial, everyone needs to know how to factor a trinomial. It's -56, so my signs have to be different, and I'm thinking of ways of whose product is -56, but then whose sum adds up to a -1. And you can see my solution here, and you're going to expect something to cancel out. Answer is D. And yes, there is a way to verify this on the calculator. So if you need to, watch my other video on using a graphing calculator. Okay, here's a compound inequality. You can see all the steps to be able to get y in the middle. And again, once again, I divided by a negative. I had to reverse my signs. Make sure you read from the perspective of your variable. I am saying y is greater than -4. That's what B is saying. Y is greater than -4. But at the same time, y is less than -1. And it may help if you do a number line and you see -4 and -1, their relationship. So B is the answer for that compound inequality. Here we have a sequence of numbers. Remember, your input is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I input a 3, I get an outcome of 144, and A is your answer. I show how you can use a calculator, the stat key, to have this calculator tell you the function, but it's really easy to just double check that when you input a 4, 8 times 4 plus 120 is 152. 10 minutes. Everyone should be able to identify a function when given a graph. Must pass the vertical line test. D is the only one that for every input there's only one outcome, and D passes the vertical line test. Okay, here you need to know that range are the y values. So This segment right here, this goes on forever. So I'm hitting all the negative y values. This goes on forever. The only outcome I do not have, and I'm supposed to go through my choices, is right here. Since it's an open circle, 7. The outcome of 7 is not included. So D is the answer. Remember, range are your y values. Okay, next problem. Here they're asking for domain. Domain are your x values. So based on this graph, technically they should have arrows that you can see that this continues to go down and get wider and wider. So every input is going to be used. Every positive, every negative, all real numbers. If they ask for the range, my biggest outcome, my largest outcome is 5. Every outcome, every y value is below 5. So in this case, they ask for domain, answer D. Okay, next problem. Make sure, again, any word problem, put yourself in this situation. Read carefully, identify what your variables mean. C is your monthly cost, and you're charged $4.99 every movie that you rent, and a $48 cable fee, which is very reasonable in today's world. I wish my cable bill was that cheap. But anyway, it is choice C. Next problem. Let's see. We have a list of inputs and outputs, x values, y values. Use the stat key, and it's going to match when you do stat calc option 4. It's going to tell you the slope and the y-intercept. Yeah, we've done lots of problems like that. This next one, again, reasoning skill. We're told that the slope of this ladder is 4/5. Technically, it's negative 4/5 because it's going downhill. This where I have my cursor here, that's at 12 feet. You drop down to 8 feet, you're dropping down 4, and then the run has to be 5 to get to B. So easy choice is option B. Okay, negative 4/5. Next problem. Here, read this situation again, and they're going to ask us that we want to know the number of pounds of sugar remaining, the y, when x is the number of bags. So again, if you don't fill any bags, cover up the x term, you solve for y, you're going to get your answer. In this case, it is 16 pounds, but know what x and y represents. This next problem, you can buy 25 apples for $10, or you can buy 40 oranges for that same $10. So right here you have an ordered pair. So right here I could ask the calculator, because our job is to write an equation. So if I type in the stat key 25, 0, and 0, 40, stat calc option 4, you're going to get this y equals mx plus b. You'll get b. Another way that I did it, I also wrote, I found out the price per apple, I found the price per orange, and I wrote a linear function this way. So this was a problem that I then had to manipulate to see y equals mx plus b, but regardless, b is the answer. And if you would graph this, graph it on the calculator, we can answer the next question, and it should make sense, a visual. We can see that if you buy 0 apples, you can buy 40 oranges. If you buy 25 apples, you can afford 0 oranges, and then any combination. So D's the answer for that one. Okay, next one. Here, Box and Whisker, and you can see, and the main thing is here, they tell us the median. They tell us the interquartile range, the Q3 minus the Q1, but really this does not impact, because we really don't understand. They don't give us enough detail. So the only thing that seems reasonable is if they tell you the median, about 50% of your values are going to be 4.5 or less, and 50% 4.5 or higher. So that's all the median tells you. It's your halfway point. So C is the answer. The next problem. This one, you had to use a calculator, stat key. I guess technically you don't have to use a calculator, but it's a lot more work to rank all these numbers. And if I use a calculator, stat L1, put all these numbers, I'm going to find, the calculator can tell me the mean, it'll tell me Q1 and so on. The only one that works out is D. The interquartile range, 99 minus 80. I only have 5 more minutes. So let's pick up the pace here. This one I had to do the average of all for each month, and you can see the work here. It comes out to D. Okay, that's mean. Here, we had to figure out the percentages of people that preferred Snickers. 75 out of 250 is 30%. 24%, 60 out of 250, prefer the Mounds. So based on this, we can predict what the next 100 people would choose. So 30% of 100 is 30 students, and 24% of 100 is 24. The difference is 6. Again, we did a problem like this earlier, so check my website, review a similar problem that we did earlier like that. This one also we've done. There are 36 different ways of rolling a pair of dice. So to get a 3, it's either roll a 2 and a 1 or a 1 and a 2. So that's 2 out of 36, which is C. Okay, another probability of the first times the probability of the second. Again, you can just read over this, just check my work. Again, I'm sorry I only have 4 minutes to get through this. Here's another sequence. Inputs 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can put your outputs and use your stat key. They'll tell you the slope and the y-intercept. Here another probability first times probability second, and just read the problem carefully. It's a fairly easy problem. Here we're told that the slope is 500, technically negative 500. Again, it's going downhill, and it's pretty easy to figure out how many weeks it's going to take if you're dropping 2,000. So 2,000 over 500. I basically set up this. I solved by cross multiplying, and I could get 4 weeks. So another way is just use some common sense. Negative 2,000 divided by 4 is the 500, or the negative 500. Okay, next problem. This one, reasoning, just understanding the situation. Every year we increase the population. This is your rate of change right here by 375, and this goes, T stands for the year since 1940, and when you plug in 39, you're going to see option A is true. All the other ones are far off. They're easy to cross out. Okay. Next one, just be aware of the scale with these. It's really easy to identify your y-intercept, and you can see all my answers have the same y-intercept, so it really comes down to knowing the slope. The slope is positive. Cross out the negatives. If a line is going uphill, it's a positive slope. And really read this carefully. The scale, we are dealing with thousands, so C is the answer and not A. It's not up 1 over 4, so just be aware of the scale. That's a tricky question. Okay, only 2 minutes remaining, and we have another problem where we have to do the percent and compare the percents. Again, just look up my work, and you're going to get D. I have to go through this very quickly. Another one where we want to be able to close the gap of 200 million, and each year we're told in this problem that we're closing it by 11.1 million per year. So you can see that you can read this problem, read it carefully, and understand the work here. 2 minutes to go through 9 more problems. Okay, this one, understand the situation. Every problem is going to be slightly different. They tell us Y is the amount of gas in a tank, and X is the miles that we drive. So as far as the capacity of this car, if you drive nothing and it's a full tank of gas, it's 30 gallons. So this car holds 30 gallons. And you can type this in the calculator, look at your table, and you're going to see that you can go 20 miles for every gallon. So if X is 20, this ends up being -1. So we used the 1 gallon of gas. Okay, next problem, super easy. They ask you for the range of your outputs. Okay, just list your outputs. Domain inputs. Here, you need to be able to identify a function, a definition of function. Every X value has 1 outcome. So my X values are all I'm concerned with. They cannot repeat. Okay, next question, 53. 43 blue eyes out of the total of 150. That's a 0.29%. Or excuse me, 0.29, which is 29%. Here, be aware of the scale. The y-intercept is 200, and it's a positive slope. It has to be C. Okay, the rest of these, stat key, and you can get the answer. I'm down to 40 seconds. Read this one carefully. Understand that every 12 minutes, you can make 14 sandwiches. Therefore, you double the time, you can double the number of sandwiches. Okay, make sure you know D equals RT. So read over here. I know my distance, I know the rate, and I get 5.6 miles per hour. Just make sure you do hours, okay? Understand you had to have it in hours for miles per hours. And then this problem, you had to, again, D equals RT. You can figure out how much time it's going to take on a bike. Okay, again, it's hours, convert to minutes, and then you can do the difference. Okay, and the last one matches up with B. Thank you very much. I had to go through that very quickly. If you have any questions, please ask.